Defence Minister Richard Marles admits his department still has a way to go before it achieves excellence. Tensions between Mr Marles and the department were revealed yesterday during question time when the opposition called for him to lift his game. Funding demands are one of the key points. Mr Marles says he's working with civilian and uniformed leadership on a path to reforms.
But I make no excuses or apologies for demanding excellence and a culture of excellence in the Department of Defence and in the Australian Defence Force. And there is a way to go before we have that culture of excellence. We are giving the Defence Force a strategic purpose. We are giving it direction. We are working closely with the Defence Force and cooperatively and well to improve the culture, but there is a way to go because of the mess that was left by those opposite.
All right, now joining us in Canberra, Shadow Veterans Affairs Minister Barnaby. Joyce, Barnaby, yeah, you saw there, Richard Marles all but confirming problems behind the scenes, not good for national security.
No, it's not. I mean, this is just incompetence. I mean, you know, Peter, they're so funny in the chamber. It's like a waterfall act. You should see it. It's some of their jokes. It's such a hoot. And Mr Albanese with his sort of like fan dance on promises that he just sort of gives up and shows a bit and leaves it alone and goes somewhere else. But they miss some of the... There's two big issues they sort of struggle with, and one is cost of living, and the other one's defending the nation. They struggle a little bit in those two areas. And yet we see this incompetence personified when you have the Defence Minister and our top brass at loggerheads, so much so that it's made its way out into the public. I mean, wars don't wait for you, and they've got to get their act together because we are living in such a changed world, a militaristic, totalitarian China. We actually have Iran operating with third parties such as the Houthis and Hamas. We've got North Korea as a rogue state. We've got Russia has invaded Ukraine. And what on earth is happening back here? They've got to wake up, pull their socks up and get back to work.
There have been long reported issues between Defence Department chiefs and government ministers. Is Richard Marles, just to turn the argument around, is Richard Marles right to crack the whip?
What he does is up to Richard Marles. The problem is we're reading about it in the paper. Now, you've got to be a little bit circumspect when they take this battle into the chamber, when it's that pronounced that we have this complete, it looks like we've got dislocation between the running of the Defence Force and the Minister of the Defence Force. And he's, gets out there and beats his chest and says, I have every right to basically show what big muscles he has, when he should be just quietly behind the scenes, keeping this thing out of the press and not responding in such a way as just confirms that what's happening, the fractious nature of what's happening, and manage it. And if he can't manage it, give it to someone who can. We have to defend the nation, Richard. That is your job, Richard Marles. We've got to defend the nation, and we struggled. We couldn't get a ship to the Middle East to look after the Suez Canal, which is one of our greatest trading routes. We've got ships in dry docks. We've got the Navy unable to find crews. We've got a Strategic Defence Review, which basically pressed the pause button on the requirements we have. They've now come back. They're going to buy Ghost Bat drones. We were going to buy Ghost Bat drones. All that's happened is delay. I suppose your adversaries rate round and say, look, if you just give them a Labor Party a decade or so, they might be semi-competent, and then we'll decide to do what we have to do to the nation of Australia. No, it doesn't work like that. Right. People take advantage of your weakness, and one of our biggest weaknesses is Minister Richard Marles.